Hey guys, that time of year again, Motorcycle Live just down here at Birmingham, just arrived, recovering from the £19.50 parking charge and then about 30 quid to get in. Keen to see what's out really, very interested in the lower end of the market, so the smaller capacity adventure bikes, so the Himalayan 452, the Triumph 400X Scrambler, and then hopefully something from CF Moto. Hopefully they've got the 450 MT on stand, so we can have a look at that. No Cove this year I don't believe, no Vosges this year. No Motor Marini, they've got the 1200 which is not here. No Motor Guzzi, so that's a shame, no Stelvio. So a few bits missing, but hopefully a few things of interest here we bump into, see what bikes sort of take our fancy. So see you in there. Going to be curious bike, this CL500, 6149. It's just a CB500X, well, engine chassis in a Scrambler setup. I guess it represents pretty reasonable value. Looks like a low seat height, looks comfortable. I don't think it's only got any off-road pretenses, but I think sort of a Morocco bike or a travel bike actually work quite well, or a city bike. Cast rims, high lift exhaust makes it difficult to get luggage. Such flimsy. Yeah. Okay, so just come to look at the 400 Triumphs. First time I've seen one in the flesh. I do have one on order. First impressions, it's quite a big bike actually, quite full size. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like a full-size bike in the flesh. I don't think if you part that up and somebody came over and they said, what engine size is it? And you sell a set of 400, I don't think they believe you. Because that's Bonneville size, which is a good thing because it's going to give big bike ergonomics, but low cc capacity, I guess economics, low price to buy it, and also good fuel economy. Hopefully low servicing costs. It's got a 10,000 mile service interval. Not sure on the spec of the tank and things like that, but you can see how that bike is going to be quite a durable little package. Not an off-road bike, so the comparisons to the new 452 Himalayan are obvious, but it is a different bike. I think this is going to pick up the casual buyer far more than the 452 because it's got the badge behind it, it's got the image behind it, and it's got the price. You know, 5 grand for the base one over there with a 17-inch front, or 5.6 for this one. I mean, it's an absolute bargain looking at it. You know, you'd never believe that they could do it at this price. Built in India by parent company Bajaj, same company who builds KTM 390. So not an out-and-out Triumph. Yeah, I mean, it's fucking industrial, isn't it? That's going to snap really easy in your trail riding. You're going to have to watch that. Cast rims, which are alright for off-roading, to be honest. Difficult to brake one, we've got a sump guard on it. A bit flimsy. Hand guards. Yeah, flimsy. I mean, it's all a bit scratchy. Look, it's not premium. It looks premium. It doesn't necessarily feel premium, but it's 5.6. I do have one on order, and it's going to be available for people to ride down here down at North Devon at Dorothy's Speed Shop in January, all being well, January, Feb. But yeah, nice bike. I think it's a real stroke of genius by Triumph, really, coming in with a bike like that at that price point. I'm going to go and look at the Himalayan in a bit, but I would imagine it's made the boffins at Royal Enfield have to really consider their price point now, because for that average middle of the road consumer who just wants a small capacity bike, then at this price this is a bit of a no-brainer. And I would have suspected that the Royal Enfield was going to come in higher than this price, but now is probably going to have to rethink a little bit. So yeah, interesting times. Look at that, 5595. Yeah, so a 13 litre tank. Himalayan's got 17, so quite a difference in its travel capacity. But I get the feeling people aren't going to be travelling on the Triumph. They're just going to be out for the day on it, out for the weekend on it. Anyway, let's have a look what we find. Okay, we're just on the MotoGP stand who do the Vogue and things. Just been talking to a representative. There's no 525 here yet, the new 525 Adventure Vogue, which is coming. I can show you a picture of it. I did see one in Spain when I was out there a few months back, and it did look a nice thing. So I think it's got the old CB500X style motor in it. But it's a full-size bike, lots of front cowling, a bit, I guess, like a Benelli TRK 502. Price-wise, don't know yet. And looks a nice thing. And there was also a 900 Vogue coming, which was shown at EICMA, but isn't going to be here. So instead we're going to have a wander over. We're going to have a look at the Benelli TRK 702X, which uses the same engine as my Motorini, but it's got 12 brake horsepower more, which would be nice. A little bit lighter as well than the Motorini. Essentially, it's a TRK 502 chassis, suspension, but now with a bigger engine in it. So I think for anybody who liked the 502 but felt it a bit underwhelming performance-wise, this could be a good one. And I believe it's actually lighter. I think the engine's lighter. Price-wise, £7 on the road. From what I gather, sold out till April. So it just shows, you know, price point is so important. Like Motorini's not done too well, I don't think, sales-wise, and there's a lot of discounting on it. But that came in at 7.5. You know, this is with a cast-rim version is 6.5, which is a huge difference psychologically to people. So you feel like you're getting a lot more bite for your money with this, I think, than the Morini. Yeah, interesting. Oh, there's a cast rim one now. Looks nice in the white.
Okay, just here with Alan from ABR. Alan, first day of the show, what have you seen so far that's taken your fancy?
You know, Nathan, as you know, I used to do a lot of trail riding, right? But I'm 64 now. I'm at that bloody age when knees, hips and so on, you know, I need a chiropractor on speed dial. So I'm looking to downsize when it comes to riding off-road now. And I can't take my eye off that Bose 300. That, to me...
Get out of it!
Why not? Why not?
I did 7,000 miles over summer on one.
I'm not gonna do that amount of time on it. This is gonna be my second bike for the weekend, but I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, you know, a couple of my mates now are at the point where they won't even take a pillion on the back of their big adventure bike. You know, they're a bit unsteady on it, right? And that happens to us all. I'm not there quite yet, but off-road, I'm not going to take my GS off-road anymore or anything. I'm not going to take a big bike off-road. So I'm looking at the Vogue, and it's going to be, you know, it's going to be every other weekend, perhaps, right? You know, I'm not going to be.
The price.
Well, look, if it's an every other weekend bike, I'm not going to pay the top of the range price. I'm going to look for the every other weekend price, and it's a brilliant price. It's a brilliant price. You know, you can tell me whether it's a good bike or not. You should turn the camera back on you now, and you can tell me.
Yeah, a good bike, it is. I went down to Spain on it and the Alps and did the Stella Alpina and stuff. So and it's yeah. I don't know what to talk to you or to go, but yes.
Right, well, if Nathan says it's a good bike, I'm buying one, right? So I'm going straight off the Vogue stand now to get one.
Alan, just quickly tell us about the festival. When is it? Where is it?
Last weekend of June. We're always on the last weekend of June. The ABR Festival is at Ragley Hall, which is a magnificent venue. If you haven't been, come, we'll look after you. Nathan will be there as well. I'm sure he will be. He was there last year. I don't know whether he's not in or not yet. But anyway, it's the biggest motorbike festival in the UK now. All the manufacturers are there. You can test ride. We got a 40-kilometre off-road trail. It's like Glastonbury with motorbikes and crucially posh toilets.
Cheers, Alan.
Cheers, Nathan.
Okay, so here it is, the big one, the new Himalayan. I was just thinking what a difference 6 years makes. When the first one came out, no one was interested in it, bar a few weirdos on the internet. You know, it was £4,000. People had ridiculed it for having a foot peg snap off in the promo video. 6 years later, we're in a different league, aren't we? Cross-lace wheels, so tubeless tyres. This is on the rally bike. Still no word on price yet. Axle key there, which is under the seat. Oil filter is under there, I believe. 17-litre tank. I mean, yes, in terms of power and things, it's got a lot of rivalry with the Triumph, but in terms of practicality and usage, and probably customer who's going to buy it, it's very different bikes. We've got a 21-inch front wheel for a start, which is going to make it better for off-road. We've got shower suspension, which is top drawer suspension. It's got a longer wheelbase, and to be honest, I think Triumph has obviously gone to Barjar in India to get them to build a bike for them, whereas Royal Enfield have built this from scratch, ground up, with real clear goals, which is to keep the seat height low, so I think it's 810 or 820, so a fraction higher than the old one. Keep the ground clearance relatively manageable for off-roading. To slim down the centre, which it is. You can see there it's not got the bulge in the side as it used to give it more power, to give it better brakes, to give it better suspension. So they've really set out to create the ultimate lower capacity travel bike. We've still got these front racks. Whether these are as practical as the old ones, which were flatter and flusher, they're a bit curved and slightly far forward. I'm not sure if they're going to be as practical, but there is a nod to practicality. Also a centre stand, which is great to see on any bike. It's got quite a lean to it, hasn't it? Actually, that's quite noticeable. The lean on that side stand. Now, anybody who's owned a Himalayan will know that the early ones stood too upright and the Euro 5 stood too slanted, and this looks more Euro 5. Whether that'll accentuate what I think is going to be a slightly heavier top end weight, simply because you've got a bigger, broader tank up here. It is metal. I know people are saying the airbox is in there, but so is some fuel, so I believe around this area. So whether it's got a higher mass to it, I don't know until I get to have a sit on one. The mudguard is, I mean, let's pretend that 5 years ago you were invited to have a look around the clay model of this bike and you asked what you thought of it, and you said, you know what, looks a bit generic GS, certainly that front beak, and 5 years later it's still got that beak on it. You'd say, I really wish you'd ditch that beak, but I can live with a beak, and if actually worst case I'd probably take that off. So I think they've really done a ground up unicorn machine, which is some are touting at it. Actually, Alan at ABR mentioned the word unicorn in relation to the new Himalayan, and I think it's you know, it is on that path to it, because it's got the power of a KTM 390, it's got the wheel setup of a CRF 300 Rally, so it's going to have some good off-road capability, but it's going to do the road work really well as well. Price is obviously the crucial thing, and the problem is Royal Enfield's always appealed to the budget-conscious customer, but this is not a budget-conscious bike. It's been built with a lot of attention, with a lot of development, with a lot of costs involved, and a lot of thought into how it's packaged and how it rides. And so really, they've not built a cheap bike. So they don't really, in my mind, they shouldn't be charging a cheap price for it. They should command what it's worth, which is, I'd say, KTM money or CRF money, which is 6.5. If they'd have come a bit under that, it would have been a no-brainer, go for the Himalayan. But then Triumph's come out with a 400 at 5.6, and it's probably made Royal Enfield think, oh, bugger, we're going to have another look. But to the realist, there is a big difference between this and the Triumph. Certainly in terms of durability and usability, but how many people need that in their adventure bikes? How many actually just want a day-to-day bike that looks good, is easy to ride and is fun to ride, which is going to push people back towards the Triumph. So people are saying this is highly price sensitive, this bike. I don't think it is, because people who want a certain thing out of a bike will see that the Triumph isn't it and this is it. So we're going to see two totally different markets, two totally different customers. There will be some crossover until people make up their mind which suits them best. But yeah, it's a very exciting time when we've got two rival brands offering two slightly different strands of the same concept, which is low capacity, high usability motorcycles. So it's good to see. Can't say as I'm a fan of the black and gold one, a little bit tarty for me. But the mainstream will love this one. Okay, we're just on the KTM stand, quite busy, Saturday morning busy. So we've got the 390 Adventure, which I think had a bit of a renaissance with the spoke wheel edition that came out. Added a lot of money, so 6,700 I think for that one. But nice bike, tubed wheels rather than the tubeless on the cast rim version, so I'd still stick with the cast version and save myself some money. Nice 790. Alright, this is going to be an interesting one. Right, so the 790, the new, or the reimagined 790 is built entirely by CF Moto in China. So it's a Chinese motorbike on an Austrian company's stand. And that's part of the new deal between KTM and CF Moto. CF Moto also have a deal with Yamaha to build their small bikes. So it's all happening. The Chinese really are, sorry bud, you alright bud? Starting to be a big player or a big part of European brands' offerings. Why that's interesting is because over here is CF Moto under their own badge, and I'm led to believe we've got the 450 MT on here, although I can't see it at the minute. So there we have the 800 CF Moto, the MT, which is basically KTM 790 Adventure. So the 790 that you saw over there is built in the same factory as this over here, but that's cheaper. And I don't see, unfortunately, the 450 MT. That's a real shame, but the 450 MT... Sorry about that. After you. So the 450 MT uses, I think that one of those bikes over there will have the 450 engine in a twin cylinder bike. Not sure on the power yet. I think about 70 brake or 65 or something like that, in an Adventure chassis setup with long travel suspension, long range tank. It really looks the biz. We don't know anything about price at the minute, but for the fact that KTM were going to do their own twin cylinder small capacity adventure bike that got canned, and now CF Moto, their partner manufacturing company, are going to build their own twin cylinder adventure bike, suggests that what on earth is happening? I don't get it. KTM are giving manufacturing capability to CF Moto, who are then in turn designing and innovating bikes that previously KTM would have been built, which would only mean that their money is all going into the same pot. I don't know who owns who. CF Moto owns KTM or KTM owns CF Moto, but you would assume that all the money feeds into the same person's pot. Otherwise, that would make no sense whatsoever. But in the meantime, we're going to enjoy some good bikes. It's just a shame that 450 is not here. Just quickly spotted this on the Royal Enfield stand. So it's their electric concept vehicle, electric Himalayan, which I've seen pictures of. And I've got to be honest, that's quite an exciting little project there. If anybody saw, I did a ride review on my Suron Ultra B the other day, which is a very light electric trail bike with a very limited range of 40 miles or 45 miles. The upsides of electric is the fact that they're very nice to ride. I've got to be honest, riding an electric bike on trails and travelling is very relaxing, very soothing and very easy. The downside obviously is that range. If they could come up with a bike with a 200-mile range that was chargeable overnight from a three pin plug, I think we're onto something. But anything with sub 150-mile range is absolutely useless. But how quickly will battery tech improve, and how far away is that from production? 5 years, let's say. But yes, in terms of a riding experience, I'm really enjoying electric, which is not something I ever thought I'd say. but certainly for trail riding, it's wonderful. So we'll see where this project goes to. Okay, quick look at the BSA stand. We've got an accessorised up gold star here. It's got a man doing the same thing, and maybe I should just listen to him. What's he saying? What's he saying? Got to be honest, it's not really caught my attention too much, to BSA. It caught a lot of people's attention in the early days, but it seems to have gone a bit quiet. Difficult market to tap into. I think Royal Enfield have got that retro classic sort of street bike sewn up with the Interceptor. Well, that looks good. You know, you could imagine getting that and doing some touring down through Spain, Italy, up to Scotland, no problem at all. All you need is a dry bag on the back of that. If you weren't camping for sure, you could probably just manage with that and a bigger tank bag. So, you know, don't rule out these road-based tourers or classics, because they'll take you a long way. I've had people do Land's End John O'Groats with me on Interceptors this year. So yeah, and anyway, more classic looking and as comfortable as a big tourer. So something to consider. Oh, we've all been there. Looks quite familiar. So yeah, this is where kids can come and try electric motocross bikes and trials bikes. I mean, it's great to see it. It's exactly what the industry needs, isn't it? Just to get kids on two wheels. Obviously, the switch to electric, I think, makes it easier, cleaner, safer, let's say. Just talking to the lady on the Ossett stand, we were talking about the PW50 Yamahas that, well, certainly that I learnt to ride on, and you know how cantankerous they were, the hot exhaust and things, noise. And then you've got these little electric bikes, which are just such, I don't know, easier to get away with, let's say. You can dial down the power, probably easier to ride, no clutch. And this is what we need, isn't it? Kids on bikes to keep the industry going, keep the trade going. But it's interesting, there's some younger faces. It feels like there's a younger crowd here this year. There's certainly still a lot of, you know, the old grey nomads of motorcycling, but there's a lot of youngers, a lot of ladies here, families, kids. I know it's a weekend, so you're going to get more of that, but yeah, it's good to see everything we can do to get kids on bikes, really. I have a 4-year-old who I think would love this. It could just be me, but I think something very peculiar is happening in motorcycling, and that is that the price of bikes is actually coming down. I'm sure, I'm just back on the CF Moto stand. I've just had a look around this, which is the 800 MT, using the same engine as the 790 KTM, and it's now down to 8599. And I'm sure when that came out, at least a spoke wheel one, that came out and it was like 11.5 or something. But this is now 9199 with 89 brake horsepower, which I don't know, that suddenly seems actually pretty good value when you compare, say, a Tenere 700 or a V-Strom 800. What else have we got in that class? Transalps. You know, that's a lot less than a Transalp with more power. Now, CF Moto, not only are they building the bikes for the big manufacturers, they're also starting to establish a dealer network, and if they do that, or when they do that, I think they can offer a very compelling package to somebody who's not particularly bothered about what brand's on the bike. CF Moto is not a strong brand as such, but if they're building strong bikes, then the brand's less important. So, seems cheap, that. Okay, a brand new bike from Honda, an NX500. What would it look like? Is it a true off-road trail bike? Is it going to take on the CF Moto MT450? Let's have a look. Oh, wait a minute, that's a CB500X with a new name on it. Oh my goodness. Funny move by Honda, this one. So they took the 500X, the CB500X, giving it a new front end and a new dash, put the price up, and called it an NX500. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. The CB500 was an established brand. It kind of, people knew what it was, and I don't get this one at all. Maybe if they'd given it spoke wheels, longer travel suspension, then call it an NX500. I mean, we've got companies such as Raiju coming out with a the Adventura, which has got the 21/28 wheel configuration, a long travel suspension and the 40-litre tank, and that's based on this engine. So if Raiju can do it, which are effectively, I mean, Raiju are buying a Chinese bike from China and rebrand it as a Raiju, so okay, if the Chinese can do it, why on earth can't Honda do it? Go on, mate, you alright now? Yes, alright. Yeah, lazy. Shame, really. Come on, Honda. Not a lot of love these days for the GS310. Came out in 2017. Price now is just under 6,000 quid. So you kind of think if a Himalayan is the same price as that, which is a better value option, it's definitely going to be the Himalayan, isn't it? What BMW are going to do with the 310, I don't know. It's a good bike. It could be improved. It's not done, I don't think, great numbers in the UK, but it's semi-popular and it's very affordable second-hand. And it seems to be getting a bit of interest. Looks good in those colours. Like to see a little bit more engine, maybe a little bit more torque. Suspension changes make a big difference to it. I've got the Rally Raid kit on that one of mine, and you know, it's transformative as a bike to ride. It's just, how do they sell them, and are they interested in selling them? Kind of get the feeling that you know, it's just here for, it's here because they've got it, but not because they want it, which is a shame. Yeah, it'd be good to see BMW have a really good go at this lower end of the market. Cheers. But I've got to say, that is a sexy machine, isn't it, that new F900 GS? It's a restyle, it's a slightly bigger engine. I don't know what they've done to the chassis. I think by the looks of it, quite a lot. 21/18 wheel configuration, long travel suspension. Showa forks, interesting. Showa forks also on the Himalayan and also on things like the Honda 500Xs. So it seems to be the go-to suspension provider these days. But that looks a really nice bike. Looks beautiful colour scheme. Still too big really for trail riding and unnecessary for the kind of stuff I do. But I think if you're in the market for sort of a midweight, let's call it a midweight. It's a heavy midweight, let's call it. But
really handy. Yeah, Lars in a similar situation.
Oh, sorry, fella. Sorry. Yeah, nice bike. That 11 and a half starting from. So good competition. Good competition for an Africa Twin or a Tiger 900 Rally Pro. Still looking for the Suron stand. Just stumbled across this at the MV Augusta. So I don't know, I forget the model name of it. Let's go for the LXP. But the original plan was for MV Augusta to do bikes built out of China at a reasonable price, and for whatever reason that was canned. And we've got sort of a bespoke limited edition bike. I think price I saw was sort of like £25,000. It's a beautiful thing. Whether it's relevant anymore, not sure. I mean, that F900 GS will do everything that does, and probably better and more reliable. So is there space for it? Is there room for it? Would anybody buy it? Not sure. You've got to be a very good bike to compete at this end of the market. Something unique. Not sure. Would you spend 25 grand on it? Don't know. Okay, so we managed to track down the Suron stand. Obviously, somehow subliminal police vehicle has already found its way here to track down the stolen bikes. It is a different market, definitely a different market. It's a different type of bike. If anybody saw my video on the Suron Ultra B the other day, it's a bike that I bought and keen to find out and explore the possibilities of electric trail bikes, because I like them for the quietness. Sorry fella, what is interesting is the price has come down, so it's $5,999, and I think that's with a £500 plug-in vehicle discount. So they're actually now £5.5 grand versus what they were, which was £6.5 grand. I was going to sell mine, but I think I might have to keep it now because it's not worth much. But we've got the new wheel sets on it, more road bias wheels, and they've got the Storm B. I mean, trying to dress it up as a travel bike, Who are they kidding? But the way they ride these bikes is very good. It's a very good way of doing trails. The issue obviously is the range. You know, 40 miles out of mine, which is fine if you've got trails on your doorstep, or you can commute and it's less than 40 miles. But obviously if you want to go further than 40 miles, it's not much good. Get that range up, which are some aftermarket options, and then we could be talking. So yeah, is the future electric? Not yet, not yet, but it has its merits at least. Not much else to see at the minute. I'll keep looking, but just an observation that there's a bike here for everyone. I think every bike people are interested in. Well, not every bike, but most bikes somebody's looking at, sitting on, mooching around, and it's good coming on a weekend just to see actually there's a good mix of ages, families, kids, young people. Yeah, it's good, buzzing. I would say you would look at this and say motorcycling is currently having a bit of a buzz. So yeah, good to see. Sorry, bud. So just come across this stand, the machine shop based in Hinckley in the Midlands. Basically a place where you can bring your bike down and self-service it. They've got all the equipment and ramps and things and expertise, welding. So not quite sure how it works. I think you take out membership plan. But what a great idea. You know, one of the problems we've got in our area is the closure of motorcycle shops, and so there's going to be a shortage, I think, coming through soon of skilled motorcycle mechanics. So I think if you wanted to keep an old bike on the road, the only real way you're going to be able to do it is to learn how to do it yourself. So offerings such as this, I think, are fantastic. So yeah, the machine shop in Hinckley. So if you buy that way, yeah, so you do tyre changing. They look to have MIG welders, TIG welders. Yeah, great to see this here. I think it's what the industry needs. It's what motorcycling needs, to upskill people rather than just to sell people stuff. So yeah, great to see. Just on the Herald stand, just having a look, talking to my mate Dan over there, who's he's trying to tempt me into a zebra skin 250. But it's interesting, isn't it, that we were talking about green laning, and we discussed what is a green laning bike, or we might say a CRF or a Vosges, you know, something with big 21-inch wheels, traditionally what we think of as trail biking. But light, low and slow are always, to me, key ingredients for going off-road. So if you're not overly experienced off-road and you don't need ounces and meters of ground clearance or suspension travel, then actually something like these, one of these street scramblers from somebody like Herald, is not a bad option to go for. Generally better price. I think this is, I think it's 3.5, don't quote me on that. 26 horsepower. It'd be nice and light. I've just had a stand up on it, it's perfectly comfortable. So you could easily do lots of back road discovery type of riding, a little bit of green laning, and obviously sit on an A road with no problems at all on that. So yeah, it's interesting what is out there. Look at this paint scheme they've got. So Herald are based in Northampton, and they're again, I mean, I don't think there's any shame in it. Their bikes come from China, Zhongshan engines and things, and they've now got a spray booth over in Northampton where they can do these funky tanks. So yeah, they've got a good range of stuff, good bunch of guys, and a zebra print tank. And at the other end of the spectrum we have the GS 1300. If we can get a look in, surrounded by middle-aged men. Too many people. I do get the GS. I used to own one. I had a 2014 GS 1200, which I did a lot of trail riding on, a lot of traveling, went around America on it, went around Iceland. So I'm very much a fan of the big adventure bikes, but I guess as I've got older and I guess not got any richer, the appeal of a £20,000 adventure bike is just not there anymore. I mean, obviously it's down to what you earn and how much you can afford to spend on a toy or a travelling utensil. But for me, I think that was always the appeal of the Himalayan. It was a cheap travelling utensil, and it could allow you to travel a long way on a cheap bike. So the appeal of a £20,000 bike to do any travelling on no longer makes any sense to me. I'm sure it's amazing to ride, and I wouldn't deter anybody from getting one, but I would deter anybody getting one to ride off-road, because I've been there, done that, and you will soon find yourself trapped underneath the bike. So whilst there's some great demonstrations on here showing, there's Chris Northover, who's an amazing rider, showing people what they can do on off-road, the average person is not, unfortunately, as good as that guy. So if you're going to go off-road, go small. And in fairness, there's not a lot of interest for anything small capacity. We've got the V-Strom 800, we've got the 650s, come here, sorry, the 800s, we've got the 1050 over here. I don't know if he was having me on, but a representative from Suzuki, he was having me on, but he mentioned the word DRZ and a potential alternative to a Himalayan. He probably was having me on, but let's pretend for a minute that he wasn't, and how exciting would that be? Because Suzuki have allowed, and Honda in fairness, they've allowed Royal Enfield, CF Moto, Triumph or whoever, Vogue, to come in and really dominate a market which was before theirs. So let's imagine a DRZ 400, liquid cooled, built for travel, built for trail, to take on the Royal Enfield Himalayan. What would it look like? How much would it cost? How much power would it have? When would we expect to see it? Answers on a postcard, I think, with that one. But for now, we'll carry on wandering. It's a bit sexy, isn't it? Nice. Still one to beat, isn't it? The Tenere. A lot of activity on the Tenere stand. We've got the World Raid there. There's also the travel version, which has got a lower seat height, which should hopefully make it a bit more manageable for shorter leg riders. I'm not sure where that is, and I'm not sure at what price point. Is it a bike for short riding? Maybe. Okay, so we've got the Explorer model, which has got the lower seat height, which should make it more manageable for more people. Nice gold rims on it, tubed rims, which is a bit of an Achilles heel for anybody who's doing a lot of road traveling on it. This comes in at 10,800. So yeah, the Tenere certainly climbed a lot in price since when it came out at 8.4 a few years back, but incredibly popular, an incredibly popular bike, a bit of a striker lightning for Yamaha. You know, when they've kind of left the other Japanese manufacturers dangling a little bit. Yeah, good to see. I wonder if there'll be a new 1200 Tenere. I don't know, the train thing will be right. Custom hearing. Okay, so we're just back on the stand of Plugs Custom Hearing. I was here about 3 years ago, and I got some custom moulded earplugs, and obviously I do loads of miles in a year. I have got tinnitus, and I probably left it too late. So if there's one bit of riding kit I always would advise is earplugs, and my own personal experience is that the custom moulded ones are by far the best way of keeping good seal all day long. And I'm going to be honest, when I saw the price on the plugs kit, they were like 50 quid, so far cheaper than the competition. And I've not tried the competition, but I don't need to try the competition, so that's good. Well, I need to hear. Thank you very much. So Paul, I mean, what's the importance of hearing protection really?
Yeah, it's like you said, it's protecting your ears. So basically, especially on a motorbike, 70 mile an hour, you're damaging levels without any kind of protection at all. And especially if you do lots of touring, like yourself, you are exposing yourself to some serious damage over a period of time, and protection is the way to go forward.
It is, yeah. All right, so what we're gonna do?
We're gonna have a look at your ears first, make sure everything's nice and healthy and safe in there, and then we're gonna take an impression of your ears, and that's basically our cast, our reference, what we work from.
Yeah. Okay.
And then in a couple of weeks' time, something nice and bright will pop through the letterbox.
With glitter on.
With glitter. We can do glitter.
Okay, so I did a video a week or so ago where I was talking about the Himalayan, the old Himalayan, as I was sat behind it on a seat, and I just put my hand on it and I could tip it upright off its stand. This is a new one, and I did make a mention in a past video about the weight and where it's carried. I'm pushing on that rear end, and it is heavier off at stand. It is heavier off at stand, and I don't know if that's because there's a lot of lean on that. You look at that. There's a lot of lean on that, and there's mass here. I am intrigued as to what that feels like off at stand. I know it's exactly the same weight, we're 195, but how does that feel? Feel is more important than actual spec weight. How does the weight feel? It's a nice bike. It is a nice bike. I've come back to it this afternoon just to have another look. The attention to detail, the quality, the development, everything about it, the long chassis, you could just see it's been built for a purpose. It's purposeful. Characterful? Not yet, no. It's still got to build its own story, I think. But it's interesting, and I like interesting. So that's it, end of Motorcycle Live, just heading home. Some good bikes today actually, Himalayan, 400 Triumph, and then just lots of other things dotted around. Nice to catch up with some people, also good to see quite a young crowd there. So yeah, if you're thinking of going, I'd just head over. Parking's a bit pricey, but such is life. Cheers.